Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Onvermel Report. I am your host. Sorry, my apologies. Welcome back to the T.O.A podcast. I am your host, Onvermel.
Of the Onvermel Report.
Exactly, of the Onvermel Report. My apologies for the screw up. Like I said, I'm getting back into the swing of everything, okay? It's a little bit difficult.
We could have restarted this, but that's too much work.
Look, I've recorded a podcast before, and it's like the most annoying thing ever. Plus, why would I want to do that for? I almost never edit anything out. Occasionally, I'll do a little bit at the beginning and a little bit at the end.
You could have edited out your cracking open the pop can last time.
Why would I want to do that for? I wonder why I want to know
that I'm very clear and striking. Like, yep, he just opened a Mountain Dew.
I think I did that very intentionally. Because if I was going to open it and not be trying to hide it, I would have moved it away from the camera, or did it underneath my shirt, or I would have coughed over the sound. You know, been like cracking open, going, you know, hide it, keep it hidden. But, you know, with today in general, and kind of last a little while, there's definitely been a lot of reminiscing about Bionicle. In fact,
that's kind of what you have to do.
Let's be honest, there's nothing new, so all we can do is reminisce about it, or talk about new lore you're making, but people don't understand that, so you can't really talk about that.
Let's be honest, who really cares about someone else's lore?
Lore, I mean, unless you're a really good storyteller, and you can captivate people, people will care about it, but it's like 1 in a million sort of chance.
Most people don't go out of their way to read other people's lore.
Very much what happens when you try to say, hey, want to learn about my OC character? Usually people go, okay, oh, look, Punch. And yes, I'm picturing everyone out at a weird social event where there's a bowl of Punch over there, probably with Nuyurama flying around it.
They do love their Punch.
The inside joke, you're welcome, folks.
We have a few of those.
Well, yes, but when you know...
That's what half of our own lore is made out of, inside jokes.
True. I mean, even the newest series on the channel, Mocks of the Cave, essentially is an inside joke. Well, the title is. But it doesn't need to be if you don't want it to be. But again, you know, like, we've been Bionicles fans for, you know, the whole run. And we've shared it together as a family and siblings. That, of course, there's going to be jokes. And the storyline and toys were going to get boring enough. It is that we had to make our own, you know, jokes, our own stories, our own versions of characters.
Also, we had to just figure out why when we were playing, why we had 3 tahoos or whatever.
Hence why I think in one of the older podcasts we might have brought up the cave as a.
Probably.
I think you and me did talk. No, we did. You and me did have a podcast directly talking about the cave. Or wait, no, we didn't. I talked to General Pitbull about it.
Sure.
Because we were comparing different childhood, like growing up, and I was explaining to him basically how that even though we had 2 of the characters, we had to find a reason for it. And the cave, I remember that because the thumb...
We didn't just, you know, oh, I'm going to play with this Tahoo. No, it's like, I have both Tahoos, therefore I have to play with both of them. I have to.
At least 9 out of 10 times we had to.
As we got older, we realized, oh, we don't actually have to do this.
Yeah, it's like... There was definitely a turning point, I would say, where games would be... I would say got too old to be really playing with... We got old enough to the point where... we kind of stopped caring and started getting influenced by other stuff. Because I remember specifically when the Paraka came out in 2006. So at this point, like, we've been in Bionicles for 6 years, you know. All the games of finding the masks and discs have been done to death. And the amount of Koros have been destroyed by Borak invasions. You know, it's been done.
Sorry, the Borak / Roski / whatever else you have.
Whatever, the Horde of Villains and Onyx.
Yes, the Robo Rider.
The one Robo Rider. But I do specifically remember when Zactab Gone, the Paraka, was a turning point from playing in-universe games and such to, I'm a toy, and we just ended up having a lot more, you know what? These characters are aware of the toys, and anything goes. And I think that definitely spun out into the Titan category.
Oh, yeah.
But I think at the same time, there was some channel, some Brick Films, long gone, that we have tried finding where pretty much someone just had all the 06 sets and pretty much did like very, very low budget films, basically just filming them going around a house looking for the Mask of Time. And yeah, they were also aware that they were toys. Babak sang, Takadox whistled, Axan had a voice more like this, I think.
It was more of a cowboy, yeah.
More cowboy. It was thinking, but it was very influential, I think, of how we viewed how we could play with the Bionicles.
Only we could ever
find them again. Look, that's not the only Lego video I wish I could find. I wish I could still find that one classic space film.
Yep. Oh, things have gone the route of the rabbit hole.
Well, because my only way to find that film was through classicspace.com, and that died.
A long time ago.
Now I have no way of finding it. I have done major spelunking. in YouTube and Google to try finding this, and it is nowhere to be found. So, you know, it's difficult. But like I said, those later days of basically Paraka really just changed how we basically viewed playing with toys. But again, at that point, we were actually becoming teenagers. I definitely wasn't a teenager at that point. You were.
2006, yeah, I was in my early teens.
So it's like, you know, we're getting to the point where it's like
the earliest.
We basically became the target audience for Bionicle, but we're beginning to grow out of Bionicle a little bit simultaneously.
A little bit like you were still right smack dab in the target age.
That was perfect.
I was getting up. You and Zacta were right in the target age. I was starting to get a little bit over, but at the same time, I would kind of just matured slowly. So yeah, I was still.
You also popped in and out with these sort of events. But like I said, it spiraled out into like Titan category, which really the whole Titan category of basically grabbing all the Titans, making them like food, and hanging out in like a bar setting is like, honestly, there's two main reasons where that can be. One, we were just measuring every Titan at one point. But really, the defining moment was one evening, I believe, you had Axon, we were watching a movie, or at least you and Zacta were. You had Axon, he had Butaka. You were eating Doritos, and Zacta was eating popcorn. And thus, because Axon could hold a chip in his hand.
I distinctly remember being at the kitchen table for whatever reason, having a big bowl of chips.
It possibly moved upstairs later, or I'm thinking of the second memory. I'm just a secondhand event here, you know? I just remember this sort of event of...
Your event is probably the more actual creation of the Titan game. Mine's probably more the very first instant of Axon and Doritos in the same
The Titan category itself had several, I would say, the terminology of Titan category started when we were just measuring people.
Alright, the ones in this height are your Titans.
But the spirit of the Titan category came with the Makuta Book Club, with different Makutas having a book club and having other like larger beings join it. And then there was the food element. And when all three of these things came together, you got the true Titan category. And that's where things got boring. Well, it was interesting for a little bit. But the thing about like that time era was also the same time that we first started getting extra copies of sets from thrift store finds. Like when I first got
because we had all our sets and we kept them all built.
We would break them and then build models, but we'd always put them back together. But around this same time, which I would say would have been right before Gotorians came out, you know, at least I got my first loose Bionicle stuff, which was pretty much a New Peru, missing some parts and a few parts to a couple other people, and New Peru kind of looked like T.O.A. Joven. I'll make a T.O.A. Joven! And then they eventually became one of my first mocks, and then such.
Rest is history.
The thing about like the memory of getting Joven or building him is kind of hazy. I more remember building Defron, my very first, basically made mock or made up character for my growing universe, because I was in the basement. Zacta had his room in the basement. He had the light on, I remember, because he was in there. He had just gone T.O.A. And so he was setting up basically a Bear Magna arena sort of area in his bedroom. And I'm out there basically, I just finished building Defron, pretty much out of New Peru and some of my Rooney parts. So he was gold and black. And when I first built him, I got the name pretty quickly, but I was thinking, oh, maybe you're a Gotorian, you know? I have nothing else for you but these new warriors, which that mindset of him basically being a warrior and like a combative sort of person hasn't ever left. Now, don't get me wrong, it's been very much changed a lot since then. A lot been more added, but I distinctly remember where I was sitting in the spare bed in the basement, just there, and Zacta in his room basically setting up his arena with T.O.A. on his shelf, basically looking down on the floor and such.
Whereas my very first permanent mock, you might say, was out of a spare Makuta.
Now, is this
2003 Makuta that I got? I built a Roshki out of it, because there were Roshki parts I wanted to build Roshki.
Well, we always know something like Makuta.
I named him Ed. Ed the Roshki.
The Roshki is Shadow.
Yes. And then, the leftover parts, I made this little guy named Vlad.
If I'm correct, Vlad pretty much was a Turaga build.
Basically, yes.
Because you had a couple, I think, Turaga body parts for your system.
No, it was the larger
I
L-shaped Technic beams.
Okay. I thought you had the metallic black from Black's Fortress for him.
No.
Oh, okay.
But I think Vlad came into existence after I decided my Hydruka.
You
know what? I need this Roshki head. I don't care about this.
The Roshki head originally had the Khan for the head, if I'm correct.
But when I
within like a day later or something.
A couple days, I took that head Makuta mask off, put the Roshki head on, so that's how I was able to make Vlad.
Which is also, the Hydruka's like the first instance, pretty much outside for like a lot of basically taking a Bongo set, breaking it, and not rebuilding it for
eons.
It wasn't until that we basically really started going hardcore into creating, like, collecting the full collection that you finally decided to build. And even then, you didn't do it right away.
No, it took a long time, but partially I think I'd almost forgotten about it.
It is very forgettable.
Like, I know I have it. I don't need to build it.
And then eventually it was like, well, I should. But yeah, because even then, like, because I keep every set of mine built. I haven't broken any or part any out.
And we have enough parts we don't really need.
I know Zach has done with a lot of his Gen 2. Like, almost all his Gen 2's been parted out. And even someone I think was like stars and were at one point.
Zach has much more of a mocker.
He, I would say, there's more so he's the least of a collector.
Yes, he prioritizes mocking much more than collecting.
Yeah, no, it's...
Whereas you prioritize collecting, I think, a little bit more. Look at your mask wall.
What? My mask wall, my Krata wall, my Krana wall, my disc collection, my bucket collection, my set collection, my card collection, my spinner collection.
I want to have all those, the collections and stuff. But I'm not adverse to using these, like the T.O.A mask. I don't have them hanging on the wall.
I will refuse to use my collecting stuff into my...
They're for display only.
Exactly, no. You use them too much and whatever the line is.
Mind you, like my T.O.A masks, I do keep those on their canisters and sort of display. My T.O.A masks, I only have one of most of them, so...
They're fair game.
And they were just sitting as a canister. I'm like, I'm not using these.
It does help that they don't have a canister to sit on.
I mean, I do have spare canisters. I have half the T.O.A team extra. I could have if I wanted, but no.
Yeah, no, the desire to have full collecting. What can I say? I just like...
I have them, but I've
also always been the type to, when I wanted to look at something, I've always liked taking my collection out, spreading them out on the floor, and just looking at them. I've always liked doing that. I've always been a visually minded person. I would be the one... I really have MS Paint documents of just images for a list. I don't have like...
That's mostly filled
I don't have an Excel list. I don't have this list. This is more... These are lists of visual images because I like visual lists. Which is only that...
Some of these images are mostly purple now because they... I almost, therefore I'm covering it in purple. So there's like a couple
okay, I don't have those anymore.
That's your checklist.
I used to have that one for where I would go to Bricklink, say, copy every image of mask, put them in a big picture, and just blank out in purple when I got it. I haven't had those anymore in a while because I got a better mask checklist.
Also because you had like almost every mask, it was almost a solid purple
and
screen.
Pretty much, it was a purple screen with like a black Matatu and a light gold Khan that were sitting there, essentially.
Which, guess what you have now?
I do have both of those. Thank you very much, everyone. I shall bow.
You can literally just get an MS page and like fill the whole thing purple and call all your list.
Yeah, actually, I do have I'm pretty sure if I go to my old laptop, I still have that list sitting there, probably.
Probably.
The things we have on our old laptops are computers.
If I could fire up my old computer...
The problem is if you fire up it might start a fire.
Well, I probably could fire it up, but I'd have to like get my keyboard back from you. I think you still have my old keyboard.
Yeah, it's my keyboard. On loan.
I have the mouse. I should have all the cords, but the thing is...
Oh yeah, you don't own a keyboard, do you?
No.
Laptops don't need them.
Yeah. Unlike you, my laptop comes with a keyboard. It's good enough for me.
Even just thinking about the old mask checklist, like, that's already going back like 6 years ago, thinking about that. Like, the early days of, like, collecting of, like... Well, even, like, we'll go one back to really the days I remember really thinking about when collecting started becoming, like, something I was going after was, I would say, I don't know, like 2008 when Bricklink was more of an option, and Zach and me did, like, our first couple orders for the masks for the T.O.A, where we would get gold and silver for some of them.
Back in the day when they were cheap.
And I managed to get all of Poitras masks. And it was like, but the thing back then, it was like, I remember that specifically back then, like looking for good sites with bonk masks. It always came down to this. The good sites that had all of them were always more expensive, but also always in Germany. And back in the day, typically, because we would go through our dad's account, because also, kids and such.
After a couple bad experiences of overseas,
pretty much
just stopped buying stuff from overseas.
That was kind of like the rule, pretty much, like, we would be allowed, I think, pretty much, I think if it was an English-speaking country, it was kind of fair game, like Netherlands, or not, but like UK, I think was okay. We never did Australia because it was never one. It was pretty much,
never
it was States, It was States, Canada, and if you're lucky, maybe like Denmark. I think we would occasionally do.
Oh, no. But like anything like
Germany, Russia.
Starting going into like Asia and Eastern Europe, it's like yeah.
Like I said, they always had the good stuff, but unfortunately, didn't always get the go ahead. Okay, I think there was a couple exceptions, but
I'm looking at one exception right there.
What? What? The boat?
Yes, the boat.
Why?
Because all the parts are in one spot in Germany.
So wait, so the boat that you built for our dad was an exception in the Germany site.
I literally asked that, hey, can I order from Germany to get this? Because it has everything I need.
Let's be honest. At that point, you were also older, and at that point, I feel like at a certain point, the rule wasn't really there. It was more so.
It was more of a. More like guidelines.
Yes, guidelines.
Try to avoid it.
Yeah, no. I mean, it also just made things more expensive.
Nowadays, we're smarter. We just look at the feedback.
We're adults and have our... Don't worry, we're not going through our dad's account anymore. We have our own.
The password's long since forgotten for that.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I agree.
If I could...
Hey.
I'm pretty sure the account may not even properly exist anymore, because I would love to log into it just to see when those first orders happened.
Are you
No, wait, you can't do that.
Yeah, I was going to say, after like 6 months, I remember we tried, I think, at one point. And for a while, you can go pretty far back, I think, but...
Yeah, it's 6 months history.
Honestly,
annoying.
Really just going for Bricklink would be interesting, because like I'm kind of curious what the first things that were for Bionicle that was ordered Bricklink. I don't know what the earliest thing I ordered were, I believe, a pair of Vaki.
Yeah,
because I remember someone missed out getting the brown Vaki and couldn't find it in stores. And so to get one, I had to order from Bricklink, which I did order sealed with the red one, because I think I got them for $5 or $7 each. I think I got the pair for $14, and like shipping and handling was like 25 or something. At the
getting
end
a sealed one hard for that price. But getting a used one you can still get for that price.
Probably. I mean, Vaki are some of the cheapest stuff. I think
Maybe not
sealed.
for canister and instructions. Probably missing the disc.
Like I know that was one of because honestly, when it comes down to ordering Bongo sets from Bricklink from the basically parental guidance age, from the PGAs, there was like really 3 memories I can have. My Vaki, my Umbra, and Zactaz Nocturne. For me, those are like the Bricklink Bionicles. Because Umbra we didn't even know existed until we saw them on Bricklink. Because we never had them on any of our catalogs. Okay, and Lego.com we only started really looking at during Baraki. Because I remember us seeing the Baraki for the first time on Lego.com, and we were, man, are they ugly.
I think I actually remember seeing them on Bricklink first.
It's possible at that point, Bricklink, Lego.com, we kind of checked.
I distinctly remember it being on Bricklink.
I distinctly remember being Lego.com. But the thing is, though, they're both websites that would have been uploaded.
Sold Lego.
Exactly, and Bricklink uploads new stuff pretty quickly, so it's like, regardless what it was, we saw the Baraki online before we saw them in a catalog, which was the first. I mean, we also thought the Paraka looked ugly, too. Actually, that was a common thing for pretty much anything after, anything after Met 2004, it looked ugly. Then one of us got it, and we realized,
oh, it's actually kind of
because the Hordika, none of us wanted.
Yeah.
Then how one got Hordika Vakama, he came back from seminary pretty much, and had picked him up. Because I think he had come back for the summer and had Hordika Vakama or something.
Maybe.
Because it was after he moved out, because he moved out in 2005.
Yeah.
And so it was like he came back at some point in maybe spring of 2006 or something. And he had him, and he made him really cool by making him a big whiny, nobody loves me. Basically a self-loathing, person, hunchback.
How one was good at making things amusing for us younger.
I think that happened very similar with the Paraka too, to some degree. Because him and the Lost T.O.A got their Paraka, Hacktan and Thok, and then we realized, hey, they're kind of cool. Let's be honest, if the older siblings did anything...
Well, when I think Paraka becoming cool, I think more Zacta, getting Zactan.
I wonder where that name originated from. Honestly, I feel like at some point we really just need to have a podcast there of us talking about going more in depth about our names and our avatar / sigfig / self-mock. There's a lot to unpack in that little...
There's a reason why I am Elephant Knight.
Yes. But we're not going to talk about that today.
Some other day, perhaps.
But yeah, but really, pretty much anything after, 04 is when things kind of just got, Because I was saying the first 3 years, everything was like, okay, this is the character, this is the lore.
Definitely my interest started waning a lot in 04, after 04.
Kind of everyone's did for a bit.
Mine, yeah, it was very up and down for me. Like, someone else going, oh, now I want it. Then I'd be like, I don't want this new wave. Oh, now I want it. Like, it's very...
The fun thing about 04 for me was, it was also a very interesting time trying to get Aniwa, Akmu, and the Vaki, because, yes, we always tried going for our colors.
Because we couldn't afford
but
all of them.
All three of those three, I have very distinct memories. Akmu I remember specifically because how one drove you and me to a local store for me to get him, and I believe you picked up, I think, the T.O.A of Kama.
I believe so, yes.
And I picked up Akmu, which was the first Metromotorn in the family, which I remember being very proud of that fact. But it was also the only time I think I remember how one driving me somewhere for me to pick something up. It was a rare occasion driving that old big white van.
L15.
Not to worry, the kids were in the big white van before he came to the parking lot. He was there to drop off kids, not pick up kids. But it was like then the Niwa, I remember I had gone to Red Deer with Mom, and, you know, they had just got released.
Red Deer being the big city.
The Red Deer was the big city for us. And I remember seeing him, and I don't think I had the money quite at the time. And I remember, because we had a trip going up to our grandparents, I was mentioning to Mom that I was like, there was a Bionicles that I wanted. And some miscommunication at some point, Mom had seen basically Bionicles on sale, being too young. I was like, she saw Roxy, and I thought she was talking about Aniwa, because, you know, little kid not being super smart. And so driving up to Red Deer, at least on the way there, it was really excited. Like, I'm going to get a Niwa. I didn't have enough money for Niwa, by the way. I had like a couple dollars short. I think I only had like $8 on me. He was 10. And we get there, you know, Paul's sad, you know, and everything. But there was one ace up in the hole. I just lost a tooth. And typically, if you lost a tooth and went to your grandparents, you got a toonie.
Oh, yeah, toonie.
Which means Paul, who knew his math just well enough, like, well, Mom, I will have $2 once we grandpas and grandmas. And so we basically made the deal. I was like, okay, I'll buy this, and, you know, it was very nice. I got my Aniwa that day, and I was very happy. And then the Vaki I've already gone over, where I always had to learn from Bricklink. Don't get me wrong, I can go into my story for the first time we got Vaki, which was St. Nicholas Day gifts. Although there's some confusion between some of us about who got what color or what colors were available.
I just think they have a memory of someone going, okay, whose is whose? And I pointed out, like, I get the black one, you get the red one because there's no brown one or something like that.
Well, I remember, I
one.
think it was that our mom had basically bought some, and our older sister went to us, basically asked, okay, out of these three, or these two, which one do you want? And I think it was like a green, a black, and a red available or something. I know I got the red, my first red that day, or I got the green because Zactad didn't want the green because he already had one, so I got stuck with the green. And then there was left the black and red for you two.
Well,
and
had...
Yeah, at that point you wanted the red because you were still collecting red.
No, I think I wanted the black, because that's really when my black, I think... Like, that was very much the shift
I remember you and Zach having a slight argument who was going to get what. Yes, we were asking which gift we wanted for Nicholas Day. Don't question it. Secretisms and Christmas gifts were always a dubious thing at sometimes. Sometimes. But this was St. Nicholas Day gifts. It's a Dutch thing. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it's a Dutch thing.
Yes, it is a Dutch thing.
So, but it's like, again, I just remember there being some confusion with that whole and a slight argument. But then again, anytime you had to choose between stuff and your color wasn't there was naturally going to be some disagreement, especially if you had us three boys.
But of course.
There was always going to be some competitive sort of this, or, well, I don't want that one, I want this one. And heavens to Betsy, we would never think about being the bigger man, and like, well, at least myself and Zacta, I remember not at least ever being the bigger man usually in most situations.
Nope.
You as the older brother, I do definitely remember actually being the type to go, okay, fine, on more occasions than not.
There were definitely, well, okay, let's look at it this way. Our digital cameras, when everyone got their first digital camera, I got the old hand-me-down family one.
Right.
I was taking a hit for the family, and I still have that camera.
I don't think it works anymore.
Oh, I bet you it does. Duct tape and everything.
Okay, let's be honest. Old technology like that has long lines. I forgot about the age when we all got our own digital camera.
I also still have our mom's old
Yes, if you're curious
camera.
why we all got digital cameras, because we all around that time started taking pictures of Lego, because that's what people on classic
Well,
houses...
we had our own film cameras too.
Oh yeah, we did, didn't we?
I don't know if you used it much because you were young enough, and then the transition.
I did
I'm sure you got
occasionally,
a couple
because I had the old Fruit Loops film camera,
Yes.
and then I had my old paper one I made.
I kind of miss my old film camera.
I have such almost no memories of using film camera.
You're pretty young, so.
Well, I remember I got one. My last film camera I got gone for Christmas, and I'm being really excited
you had
for
a
it.
paper one too.
Yep, I had gone that. You had a paper clock, I think, like a cardboard clock, and I got the cardboard camera. I took a few good pictures with that paper camera. It was pretty much just really so. Those are cool days. Those are like one of the few times we actually got a gift that was more.
That wasn't Lego, but was interesting.
It was.
Except I don't remember what I got at all. I remember your camera more vividly.
Everyone remembers my camera because it was cool. I believe I still have the camera in my keepsakes. I believe I still have it.
A Pat Rat family.
Also, certain things are just cool you want to keep. Yeah, no, we're way too
Like
much.
I said, I still have that original.
Don't get me wrong.
camera.
If it's not Lego, I have a pretty easy time parting with stuff. Though I have gotten rid of a lot of random.
Some of your Transformers.
Yeah, no, my very first Transformers I got, which have a lot of sentimental value to me, I had traded to get some Bionicles. Not that I needed the Bionicles; these were just random parts. But they were going to a friend of mine who was a Transformers collector, and I was like, "Well, I don't really need these. You should truly have an interest, and I know they're going to a good place."
You're getting something you want.
Do I mildly regret it? Yes,
At
at times, but at the same time, it's like, eh.
What
I rarely bring out my Transformers, but now I got a Lego Optimus Prime, so the world's perfect. Mostly.
Just need a Megatron to battle with him.
Yeah. Yeah, and I was like, well, also with Transformers, honestly, it's just kind of like, they had their moment to shine where they were briefly more popular than Lego for me. And it was very noticeable between people who got me gifts, like my parents and my godparents, where it was like, okay, the Pollux Transformers, we can finally give something that isn't Lego that gives a little bit more variety. And also, it was a lot easier knowing what Transformers I didn't have rather than what Lego sets I didn't have for some people. That lasted for about 2 or 3 years, pretty much as the first 2007 movie came out to about, I would say, the second movie. By the time the third movie came out, the Transformer phase mostly died off from.
It was a phase.
It was a phase of gift giving, and don't get me wrong, I don't ever remember having a moment of, man, I wish I had got. Because I was still getting Bionicles at the same time, and Exaforce. Man, it was as good as robots, and mechs, and biomechanical beings, and dump trucks. It was great. It was amazing. Those are good times. Honestly, this is the thing. Pretty much any Bionicle set I own that I'd gone brand new, I can pretty much narrate the situation, which is why whenever I do get around doing set reviews, which yes, I'm still planning on doing that at some point, once I get better equipment, don't worry, it'll happen eventually.
Maybe when you're 50 and have a house.
Then I will tell you a tale of the story behind the set, because honestly, some of them do have interesting enough stories. I could do like a quick 30-second middle
Like
long.
we already told you about Akmu.
And Baki and T.O.A. Niwa. Like a lot of my Bionicles have some, and there's even a couple Borok who have stories, which I still owe my parents technically $10 for. With inflation, or it was like more. I think my friend and me calculated inflation is like $20. I owe my dad at this point. Maybe a little bit more now.
I thought it was only like.
It was a little under 20.
Yeah.
But then now it's probably like 20.
Yeah, especially with a lot of inflation spiking a bit.
Yes. Let's be honest. Paying people back was something that some people learned about Paul to make sure he does it. I'm much better now. Don't worry, I'm good now. I always pay people back now. I think because of those two things, I may have a lingering guilt of not paying back. I still haven't paid back those two things. But at this point, if I went to my dad and be like, hey, I owe you $20, by the way.
This is inflation adjusted.
I feel like he'd be like, why? I don't think
You'd just be like, well, let's just leave it as all debts are now paid.
All debts are now paid. Pretty much. But like I said, one of these days I may have to go into depth about it. Like I said, when I do the set reviews, I do really want to get into talk about that. Also,
yes, when a certain Borok gets reviewed, it'd be like the title, I owe my dad $20.
the title is like, It's like I owe the
Book review. I owe my dad money.
I owe my dad money for this.
I
Still owe my dad money. Yeah, that's good. But actually thinking about future stuff. At the moment, we're at 79 subscribers, by the way, and almost 80. And I will say that I've mentioned older ones that when I get to 100 subscribers, I will bury an Anua in the dirt.
Real dirt.
In real dirt, real Anua and real dirt. Basically, what I'm going to do is I hit milestones that I believe are worthy. I will grab each T.O.A and put them into their element. So yes, eventually a tower will get burnt if I get a high enough subscribers. I don't know what
number will be.
I don't know. I just know 100's the first milestone for everyone. 100 is the first milestone people can make.
Well, other than one. But
and it's realistically possible that might actually happen. I've gone 12 subscribers in the last 28 days or something. I went from 65 to
You need more shorts is what you need.
Shorts are doing great, man. So, but either way, it's I will bury a new in the dirt if I reach 100 subscribers. That will happen. What happens after that? What milestones? I don't know. But keep an eye out for it. But anyways, that's now the 30-minute mark, which is where I'm trying to cut it off now, just to keep it some consistent length. Don't get me wrong. I personally could ramble on for another hour about rambling.
We all know who's done most of the rambling on this particular
it is my podcast. The trio of Albertans, but let's be honest. I decided to make a podcast as my video type because I like talking.
If we're doing just simple word count, you have way more than all your Toll brothers combined.
I don't know how one is pretty good. If he was on his main podcast as
yes, but he's not.
Yes. Actually, just don't know he is. I just always edit him out. Don't you know?
He's not on this one.
How do you know? The fans will never know. Maybe he's just always really polite, always waits for us to be quiet, talks to him, then I edit him out. Man, that'd be the jerk move to basically yep, I brought you on this and I edit every bit of you out. Now I know what animators must feel like in movies when they get their scene cut from movies.
I regret nothing.
Nothing at all. But anyways, that is the end. Thank you for listening and or watching and or paying attention or napping during this. I have been your host, Onvermel. This has been the T.O.A. Podcast, and we are retiring from the night.